Uh, in the month of August, we have been conducting our sessions on the theme of freedom. Our session last week was by General Ian, who's a war veteran who fought 1962, 1965, and 1971 wars. And he shared his story, his amazing story, which is so inspirational that it is being made into a movie, an Akshay Kumar starrer movie, Gorkha, which is going to be released soon. In case you are interested in listening to his talk, please click on the YouTube channel link that we are sharing, and you could go there and watch the recording. The session today is about a freedom of a different kind, which is freedom from the painful emotions that we experience. There is a report by National Institute of Health which says that 70% of the adults report experiencing trauma. And this is a study which was conducted over 29 countries. So this is not specific to America or any other country. About 68,000 adults were studied, and they, it was found that I'll request everybody to mute themselves, please, and we will have question answers coming up towards the end of the session. In case you're not speaking, please mute yourself. And these causes of trauma can be many, and these are some of the common ones. They studied about 25 different traumas. The most common ones are breakup, a major life change, death of or serious injury of a loved one. In my case, I experienced trauma when I lost my father at a very early age. Of course, that time I didn't realize I'm going through a trauma. It's only when I was discussing with Deepti, I realized, I have some signs. I didn't think that I'm traumatized, but, I have some signs of having witnessed trauma. And then when September 11 happened in 2001, I lost my job because the company I was working for was a brokerage, and they decided to shut down the branch where I was working. So that was another very traumatic experience. I'm sure, like me, many of you have gone through trauma, experienced trauma, and that's partly the reason you are here. And let me promise you on behalf of Deepti and I that we will do our best to make this next 1.5 hours worthwhile for you. This will be an extremely enriching talk, which you will really enjoy. It is possible that we may spill over the 60-minute time frame. So in case you have commitment to leave at 6 o'clock, please feel free to do so. We'll be sharing the link of Mindful Living Community here. In case you are not a part of Mindful Living Community, click on the link and join our community. That's where we share the recording of the events. And anyway, since you have registered, you will get the recording anyway in 1 or 2 days. So that's a bit about what we're going to be talking about. Deepti is a very accomplished professional. She's a computer engineer, and sometimes she has worked with companies like Capgemini, Deloitte, Cognizant Technologies, and then for some point of time in her life, she decided from programming computers, I need to program people's brains, and she got into this very exciting space. Biodynamic craniosacral therapy, and she has done extensive amount of work. Her patients are people, her clients come from all across the world. Most of the time for me, it was difficult to get through to her because she was, having sessions with her clients across the world. And she has done some excellent work. And I'll not steal her thunder. I'll let her talk about the work she is doing. Please stay tuned. Keep your cameras on if possible, so that it's a more engaging discussion. She is also an author and a follower of Advaita philosophy, and she has got interest in singing and drama. So we'll get to know her a little better as the session progresses. How many of you friends are joining us for the, and please give Deepti a warm welcome. Deepti, you would like to say hello to the—
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for such a lovely introduction, Ashish. That was so heartfelt.
That once again.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, I request everybody to put themselves on, please. Yeah. Yes. Go on,
Yeah,
Deepti.
thank you so much, Ashish. I was just saying thank you so much for such a heartfelt introduction, such a personal introduction that matters more. So yes,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for
Yes.
joining.
Thank you, Deepti. Friends, some of you are joining us for the first time today. In case this is your first session with Mindful Living, please type FT in the chat box. If this is your first session with Mindful Living, please type first time FT in the chat box. Thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Neelkant. Thank you, Vishal. So friends, I see many of you are joining us for the first time. Allow me a minute or two to introduce myself. My name is Ashish, and I'm the founder of Mindful Living. I started Mindful Living in 2018. Prior to starting Mindful Living, I worked in the corporate sector for over 25 years in senior management roles with organizations like Tata Group, Future Group, HCL, and Dabur in their home healthcare venture. I saw during the years of my working in the corporate sector, I saw how stressed the employees are in the corporate sector and how this stress is taking a toll on their health, happiness, and well-being. And I thought to myself, being a certified mindfulness meditation teacher, that there is something I need to do. I need the message of living consciously needs to be taken to the corporate sector. And with that mission in mind, we started conducting training for the employees in the corporate sector. And over the last 4 years, we have conducted over 300 sessions for 50 leading organizations, which include companies like Aditya Birla Group, Tata Group, IBM, EXL, Airbnb, Signify, Schneider, and many more. The session today is being conducted as a part of our Mindful Living community. This community started at the onset of COVID when few of my friends reached out to me and requested me to conduct mindfulness meditation sessions for them to help them deal with the anxiety and stress that the lockdown was causing. So over a weekend, we connected and conducted a session on mindfulness for 10 of my close friends. One thing led to other, and over the 2.5 years now, this community has grown to be a vibrant community of over 3,000 people who connect every weekend to learn about different aspects of living mindfully. We have no agenda. We don't encourage political or religious discussions in our groups. This is a very safe space for people to come and learn about applying mindfulness in their daily lives. In case you would like to be part of this awesome community, please click on the link that we have shared in the chat and join us. The membership is free, and this way you will stay tuned with us, get to know about the awesome sessions that we conduct every weekend, get recordings and a lot of learnings from people who share their learnings, their challenges. So please benefit by joining the community. Few ground rules before I hand over to Deepti. Please keep your cameras on. This helps, it really motivates the speaker to engage and share their learnings with you. And use the reactions button. We will take question answers during the end of the session, but please stay engaged during the session using the reactions button. Clap, show thumbs up, show love, and when you have to ask questions, please use the raise hand emoji which is there to ask questions. That helps us sequence and take the questions from you. So on that note, friends, we welcome Deepti once again to take over and take the session ahead. Welcome to you, Deepti, for conducting this awesome session today.
Thank you so much, Ashish. I'm going to share my screen so that I can share the PowerPoint presentation. But welcome, everyone. It's really lovely to have you all over here. I hope I can contribute something today. Let me just start from the beginning. Trying to share the screen. Just a second. Yes, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So yeah, so yes, the topic of this particular conversation is quite different, right? It's freedom from to from freedom. It took me a while to explain this to people, and simply because most of us think freedom from is all about everything external, right? But this is something very, very deeply internal. So let me start by first introducing myself. Okay, I'm trying to click. This click is not working. Just give me a second. Ah, there. All right. So who am I? Let me start by introducing that. First of all, I come from an IT background. Like many of us, I joined IT because I was great at it. I was actually good at computer engineering. I'm actually good at software, and I am a devoted techie. Apart from this kind of work that I do, and like Ashish mentioned, I've also worked for a lot of big companies, including a Swiss bank, and actually working in Switzerland, and churning out not really numbers, but really software. And not just that, but at the core of all of it, I really was more into studying the esoterics. I was always into astrology, trying to understand, and always had a very strong intuitive power. So I would kind of, as my college for time pass, I would predict whether couples will get together or not. So it all started from there. It was all fun like that. And later it grew into a lot of understanding of my personal habits and my mind in that sense. And that led me on to uh, uncovering a lot of my past emotions. And I myself come from a very deep space of childhood trauma myself. And though I won't get into details of that, it's more or less it was a window of opportunity for me to really enter spirituality. And the path of, first of all, it started off with meditation, started with anapanasati meditation, then went into really understanding past life therapy, then uncovering inner child, because inner child was more related to childhood trauma. So I went into that, and all of this was in parallel with doing my techie job, churning out software. So on the one side I would be doing software, on the other side my entire weekend, my entire free time would be caught up in just helping people understand themselves, the kind of gift of understanding that I had received sitting through these very intensive workshops. And as things went more and more deeper, I stumbled on this biggest block, and like it was kind of like the elephant in the room, and that was the body. And that happened to me through several experiences, meditation experiences of something called rebirthing breathwork. So as I practiced rebirthing breathwork, I started finding the roots of disease. And what we call disease is actually got emotional, psychological, past roots in the body. Now, of course, it is very widely known, doctors also know it. They often tell you, oh, this is because of stress. Stress is this one word that is given to us, but at the bottom of stress, stress is just the tip of the iceberg, but at the bottom, there is so much more. And let's go into, something very significant here. And why do we meditate? Why do we start this journey of meditation? And most of us have come to this because there was something nagging us. That is what I really mean by freedom from. Most of us have been, most of us have been called into meditation or even mindfulness or doing any kind of self-awareness work because there was a pattern, there was a problem, there was a person that we sometimes needed release from, and we were not getting it, which is why we took the route of meditation. And that is why we often think in a, even at the start, even for me, this is how it was. Our present moment is comprised of our both conscious and our subconscious. You can see the image here. So what we think is our conscious mind right now is, you're watching me on the screen. Your subconscious mind is sometimes throwing up to-do lists to you. It's sometimes telling you, oh, you have to make sure you manage your child if he's in the room or she's in the room somewhere, right? That's your subconscious mind telling you, hey, make sure you don't touch anything. That's what your subconscious mind is telling you. So this is what our present moment is comprised of, right? So our thoughts become very, very obvious when we start to meditate. We notice, oh my God, there are so many thoughts. There are also so many junk thoughts. Like,
There's
we'll
the
have,
biggest challenge we have is
yeah.
like when people are the family is conversing in different languages, like
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
sometimes the words and everything gets mixed up.
right. Okay. So maybe, yeah, that also plays its role. And what happens is, as a result of all of this, we are noticing that there is, and as we sit and meditate and our practice of meditation deepens, we also notice that there is space between our thoughts. However, there is one very big component that most of us don't see. Most of us are not even trained to see it, if I can put it that way. Not that there is any kind of formal training, and that is this part. So when we go beyond thought and we go below it, beneath it, there is more and more stillness that arises. When stillness arises in our body, in our consciousness, in our mind, what actually also begins to rise is our primal, deep seated consciousness. You can call it animal consciousness, and basically I call it that because it's just easier for me to explain it to people. And that is also our nervous system. It is also that sense that, that there is something much, much deeper, much, much more primal, if I can call it, that is emerging. So what is that primal thing? And that holds a secret behind our meditation, mindfulness efforts. That primal thing is our nervous system. It's the animal in our body. It is the part of our body that only responds to one thing and one thing only, and that is safety. Safety is so important for us, but a lot of us think safety is something to do with, hey, let me make you feel safe, let me be present in the room. But safety is so much more basic and more primal in nature. So this animal in us is, first of all, the most complex and the most ancient system that is connected to the earth. I mean, many empaths are known to have these experiences where they will start feeling tremors, or they will wake up and feel something is wrong. uh, Ashish talked about 9/11. A lot of people I know just woke up that day and felt in their body, in their system, something was not right. They didn't even have to be part of that geography. They didn't have to have watched the news even. They just felt it. Something was not right. It might also happen that, your favorite or some a very big spiritual leader passes away. You feel that energy. You feel it in your system. What is this system where we are feeling so much, where we are connected so much? This system is not only our nervous system, it's of course more complex than just calling it the nervous system. And therefore, in actual meditation, when we start going deeper, it starts to emerge. That animal starts to show by, showing us twitching, tingling, all of these kind of sensations. All right. And this is also where we hold the most primal relationship of this planet and of this body and of our human consciousness: control and safety. Control and safety are intricately tied together. The more in control you want to be, the less safe you feel. The more safe you feel, the less in control you want to be. Have you noticed that? Have you had a glimpse of that? So, I mean, I would give you, just food for thought. Just notice that next time. And what are we really trying to do through meditation, through mindfulness? We are truly allowing ourselves to sink into the present moment, which means we are letting go of control, and we are dissolving or going deeper and deeper into safety. All right. So this is an actual nervous system. This is a visual of an actual nervous system. Do you see how close it looks to the trees? Right. So we are, yes, I'm sure there have been talks that, our nervous system will benefit a lot from being connected to the earth and all of that. That is true. And while that is true, beyond that is this understanding that when your nervous system knows something, when your bodies knows something, you can't unknow it. All right. So as and when we sit with this primal system within us, many of us can transcend that stage, especially, when we go for Vipassana retreats or any meditation retreats or yoga retreats, especially. We start transcending our animal consciousness. And our animal consciousness is not like, you will be free of the animal within you. That's not the point of transcendence. The whole point is that this animal feels free enough. So from like a tied up animal, it feels like the wings of the bird, right? Which is free and which is flying about. So what we're going to do here is we are going to go a little bit into a small meditation where we are going to see this in action. All right. So can I request everyone to just, find a place where they can sit. If you have kids around, that's completely fine. You can even tell your kid to find a good, nice, happy spot around you. at a happy distance around you, and sit down. So, yeah, can we start? All right. So, the first thing I'd like you to do is just notice what tells you you have a body in this moment. Close your eyes. For some of us, it could be the breath. For some of us, it could be a sensation. And for some of us, it could just be a sense that, hey, I'm seated. I feel my weight. As you do that, notice just the top half of your body and the bottom of half of the body. Just notice. Now, as I ask you to notice what happened. Did you feel scattered? Did you feel that your attention came in and found some place? Did your attention go to some place which is not working or is not comfortable in the body? Stay with all of these. Now notice when you put up the word space, what shows up? Now, allow yourself to have a dual awareness. The first level of awareness is just that word space and what it evokes, the sense it evokes, the quality of it. Along with that, notice your body, a place in your body that is okay, that is safe, that is neutral. It could be as small as a thumbnail. It could be as big as the chest filling gently with air with every breath. And imagine you're seeing both of them or feeling both of them together. Space and body. Space with body. For a few minutes, I'm going to go quiet to allow this dual awareness to do its dance. Now allow yourself to feel what happened to the breath in these last few minutes. How did it change? Did it become softer? Did you find a place coming up that was like a restriction? Just notice. Now bring your attention to one sensation in your body that feels restrictive, that feels somewhat like a block. Give it a shape, a texture, or an image spontaneously. See what feels natural. When you do this, step away from that part of your body, meaning zoom out your attention. And this time, again calling the word space. Space. That part which has the shape, the texture, the restriction. Feel that again. And step back. Space. 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 And now release that part from your attention. Go back to the place where you feel softness, neutrality. It may have changed. It may have expanded. And that's okay. Now we close the meditation by simply feeling space and neutrality, both together once more. Whenever you're ready, gently open your eyes and just feel and look at the surroundings. Just orient, not to the screen, the surroundings. Take a deep breath. Yes, we can come back to the screen. All right, would anyone like to share how that felt, how that was, what showed up?
In the image, what showed up was a person who causes the trauma.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
The feeling was sometimes kind of faster heartbeat, sometimes as you took us through the meditation, sometimes calming down and relaxing and yawning.
Yes, yawning, that's a very good sign. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and now in this moment, are you left with the person's image, or are you left with something a little more than that, beyond that?
Towards the end, I was blanking out, kind of.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Yawning a lot.
Yawning a lot. Yep. I would, in fact, recommend if you feel sleepy through this presentation, so please, sit back and sleep. That's your nervous system telling you something very important. And I'll cover that also as part of the presentation ahead. But that's really nice. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
I think someone raised their hand.
Wants to share? Yes, Rajni, please go on.
Yeah.
And there is comment from Ujjal who says feeling of safety expanded to occupy the wider space.
Lovely. It sounds good. Yeah. Yes, Rajni.
Okay, for me, it was more a feeling rather than an image. I could feel the constriction of my clothes.
Yes.
So actually, it was oppressive enough for me to release all the constrictions.
Yes.
And landed up even changing my clothes, if you please.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
See how body talks. And then how did you feel towards the end?
Oh, always released and comfortable in my skin, let me say.
Yeah. And were you able to feel also both the space and the part of your body that was neutral?
Well, I felt, it began off with me feeling very, very vast expanses of space, like at a beach or the sky or whatever.
Yeah.
And then as you talked and, suggested we relate to an image, then the image that came for me was not a visual image. It was a feeling. And the feeling of constrictions.
Yeah.
So I mean, the constrictions I could relate to were the clothes, literally.
That's really nice. That's really, really good. All right. Thank you so much for sharing such a beautiful experience. Yeah. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, Deepti.
Yes. Hi, Ravi. Yes.
What I could feel is that when it comes for the point of space and all, I think I could have a feeling that it is beyond the kind of ordeals and difficulties what it is going through basically, or otherwise to say kind of issues and challenges.
Okay, I couldn't hear the last part. So it was beyond the audience, you said, and something related to issues and
Beyond
challenges.
the and difficulties kind.
It's difficult to share in this moment, in this space.
It is beyond the challenges and issues kind of.
It's beyond. Yeah, exactly. That is the whole point of the space, So it is beyond. It's the space is space. It's the sky beyond anything, any form. Right? So even if we just use the word space, and it's completely okay if you get a visual of a sky, and if you feel that, okay, I'm seeing a visual, but I'm not exactly there. No, you're obviously in sky. But what I really mean is space for your body, the memory, whatever it is justified. It's legit. So always stay with whatever you get there. No accidents, no mistakes. All right. So it's beautiful. And then could you still feel your body and the space, the togetherness of it?
Body and space, yes, of course, it is, but it's over and above.
It's over and above. Yeah.
Over and above.
Yeah.
Of course, I could feel of it, but it is totally over and above.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it is. Then
Yeah.
it is.
Beautiful. So you felt like more an expanded space. All right. Good. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else, or we can continue? Yeah. Hi, Chantal. Yes.
Chantal Sethia. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Ma'am, I feel very sleepy and very relaxing. And like, can I speak in Hindi?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
I mean, whenever I sit in meditation, मैं खुद करती भी हूँ मैम जैसे, बट उसमें जब भी मैं बैठती हूँ तो मेरे को जैसे 5-6 मिनट बाद ही बहुत ज्यादा स्लीपी जैसे लगने लग जाती है और बहुत रिलैक्सिंग भी लगता है। तो मैम ये क्या गुड साइन है?
So, मैं इसके बारे में ही एक्सपैंड करने वाली हूँ, बिकॉज अभी हम बॉडी के स्लाइड पे है तो हम इसी के बारे में बात करने वाले हैं कि ये क्यों होता है, मतलब ये क्या हो रहा है। कभी कभी बहुत बार ऐसा लगता है कि सालों के लिए हम मेडिटेशन कर रहे हैं, पर सालों के लिए हम सो ही जाते हैं। 5 मिनट मेडिटेशन करने के बाद हम सोना ही आ रहा है, सोना ही आ रहा है, क्या चल रहा है। बहुत लोगों को ये क्वेश्चन आती है। हाँ, तो देयर इज एन आंसर टू दैट। बॉडी में एक आंसर इसके रिलेटेड है, सो वी विल बी सीइंग दैट। या
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So we can continue. And yes, we have uncovered a lot of secrets today in everyone's sharing. So we will probably expand more on that. So I'm just going to minimize this part. Yeah. All right. So we talked about the body, right? So what is this body and how does it function when we meditate? What is really happening when we really start and go into meditation? And like Chanchal described, she feels sleepy, and someone else also said that, they also felt like yawning. There is a whole set of things that is actually happening. This whole intelligence is at work together. All right. So I'm sharing this because let's park this at the side, because I'm going to come to it later, this visual image at the side. So it's very important to understand each of these systems and how and what is really happening. So the first system that I would like to talk about is the cerebrospinal fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid is actually the space in the center of your brain that is filled with only fluid. Now, the usual understanding of this was, this is only for keeping the physical pressure of the brain around it and giving cushioning to the brain. Actually, that is not the truth. The cerebrospinal fluid is actually, Dr. Sutherland, who is an osteopath, who is the founder of also craniosacral work largely, when he touched it, or rather when he just had a felt sense of it, he said it's like liquid light. Now, your cerebrospinal fluid is also the part that awakens or that makes you feel bright. Have any of you noticed that after this meditation, the light in your room, that's the reason I asked you to notice the surroundings in your room, the light in your room feels brighter? How many of us felt that? I know I did. Anyone wants to put up their hands? I'm just going to
yes, ma'am, I felt many times.
Yeah, many times you'll feel it when you do any kind of consciousness work, meditation work, mindfulness work, and also any kind of sadhana, any kind of kriya, any kind of a yoga thing, any kind of pranayam as well, you will feel brighter. What is this brightness in terms of pure anatomy? This brightness is actually your cerebrospinal fluid, and what is actually happening when we meditate? It's something we call the CSF flush. So I'm just going to play this video. Do you see this movement here? Can everyone see this movement? This is actually what is happening when we are meditating. I'm going to replay that a little bit. This is actually what's happening. So what really happens is this cerebrospinal fluid, which is known as the liquid light, is the center of our brain. There's a very famous Buddhist chant that says Om Mani Padme Hum, right? The heart at the The jewel at the heart of the lotus is empty. Imagine if this were a lotus. Our brain is the one that perceives everything, right? If we are comatose and we have a spiritual teacher or a spiritual guide sitting next to us, how much are we going to feel and translate that feeling into a real experience? It's very less likely if our brain is cut off, right? So the cerebrospinal fluid is actually that vehicle, this fluid, which is that vehicle, which allows us to first go into a deeper state of relaxation. Second, it allows us to, it cleans up the brain's old memory pathways. So you see this part, this kind of a mushroom kind of a thing at the bottom. I don't know if I can annotate. Yes, I can annotate. So do you guys see this part? This mushroom sitting here is actually the place where we hold our primal fight, flight, reptilian responses. So this is also called as the reptilian brain, just in layman's terms. So this is the place where we're holding it. The way this CSF, moves is basically it cleans it up, it flushes these memories, and it is circulating all around the brain. And that often the first place where it goes and touches is our eyes. The back of our eyes are literally bathed, soaked into the CSF. So yes, after your meditation, when you feel that sense of brightness, cheeriness, it's because your CSF has actually moved through that act. All right. Now, what happens when the CSF is not moving properly? It's one of the biggest reasons why people actually have migraines. So it's not directly just the flow of the CSF, it's also the structures around it. I'm going to explain a little bit more around that. So apart from this, yes. Oops, I'll just clear the annotations. Clear all drawings. Yes, got it. The next system is our nervous system. We've talked a lot about the nervous system, right? It's about fight, flight, response. It's also about the freeze response. However, our nervous system holds a very, very important secret. And that secret is that our nervous system has something called the battery saver mode. When your battery is about to die or it's gone below a certain percentage, your mobile phone flashes this thing, right? Do you want to turn on the battery saver mode? What does it do? It cuts off its connection to all the other apps, right? In a similar way, the nervous system is so intelligent, it's so designed. This is the reason we have been able to survive and we've been able to come this far in life. All right. What do I mean? In the sense that this is the biggest thing that has played a role in the survival of our species till now. So the nervous system is not just your fight, flight, freeze response, but it does something extremely intelligent. And this is very, very relevant to trauma work. And what it does is it goes and switches off in the battery saver mode. It kind of partially switches off your digestion. It partially switches off certain other systems as well. So for example, imagine you're being chased by a tiger. Are you going to think about a pizza? No, you won't be thinking about a pizza because your digestion, and you know what, when people do stress eating and then they say they're putting on weight because they're just adding extra weight, they're stress eating, but nothing is digesting. Why is it not digesting? Is it because the food that they eat is bad? It's nothing to do with the food. It's because your digestion is at an idling state. A lot of people who drive cars, you keep your car at an idling state. It's just barely functioning, right? It is in that state. Your digestion is partially switched off. What I'm going to show you is a video that explains something where which is a built-in protective mechanism where we kind of switch off as part of an overwhelm. All right. This is common with all mammals on this planet, including us. So even we do this. So I'm just going to play it. It's not graphic, just to let you know, even though it is a hunting video, it's not graphic. So here you can see this leopard has got this guy, the gazelle. It thinks it's dead. You can see you must have heard that it plays dead. Animals play dead. It's not actually they play dead. We actually have something where we leave the body. The consciousness just leaves the body. And see, it's breathing. First, the breathing starts coming on track. You can see its belly is moving. Slowly, consciousness is returning. Then it starts shivering. It really starts shuddering, shivering, shaking violently. I'm just going to pause because it's beautiful to watch this. So as it does this, it's slowly, slowly discharging all that stress that it went into, that fright that it went into when the leopard or the cheetah was on it. And then it gets that energy to move and it bursts out in action, right? Now, this is very, very important because, you know, when we sit in our meditation, when we sit doing our practices, even in yoga, there will be this reflexes that start coming up. There will be sudden shivering, sudden twitching. Have you felt that while you're sinking deeper into sleep, there's the sense that, oh, you're just about to fall off the stairs and you just wake up with a jerk? All of those are actually signs of this exact discharge. And that is the nervous system discharge. So it's going from protection mode or freeze mode into release and heal mode. All right. So the next thing that I'm also about to show you is this. So what happens when the nervous system forgets that you're no longer in problem? At that moment, you are constantly running in battery saver mode, which means that what's really happening is that while your gut kind of switched off and stayed switched off, it never really came back online. So there's this very famous theory called the polyvagal theory. I won't go into details, but it was very, very important in trauma research because that is what made everyone understand that our system and that gazelle system, which you saw, that deer system, are exactly the same, with the difference that sometimes our system forgets that it has to switch on to full power mode. It literally forgets. It's like an amnesia of the nervous system. You can say it that way. So, you know, at that moment, what starts happening, your people start experiencing IBS, gut issues, long-term gut-related problems. Like, for example, I had this lady come to me who had like every kind of gut issues on paper, you know, every medical doctor tried, years of Ayurveda, years of naturopathy. At the end of it, it was almost like, you know, all she had to do, you know, all she could do is she had to measure every single thing that she had to eat. And it was really so bad. There was also acidity, there was immediate gas, there was bloating. You know, it didn't matter how much and what she tried, it just never came online. So as we worked together, the first thing she started getting is images of her favorite childhood food. Then she started getting images of, you know, certain places where she was very deeply traumatized as a child. You know, it was a place, it was, these were incidents and these were memories she didn't even consciously hold. She didn't even know that she had those kind of memories. As they started to surface, she found her tolerance to food started becoming better. Now, I'll give you my own personal history. For the longest of time, I felt that I was lactose intolerant. So paneer, buttermilk, curd, it doesn't matter what you gave me, I would run away because it would cause me so many gut issues. Not just that, but it would always be like walking on a thin line, you know, walking a tightrope. The moment I ate something, I would really be afraid that I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to have a stomach upset. So that continued for years and years and years. But the moment I started working with this trauma work, you know, and I had a therapist who could work with me also in this trauma work, it started becoming that now, this entire summer, I've been relishing curd, buttermilk, and all of that. And all along in my life, I thought, oh, wow, I was lactose intolerant. And I thought I had allergies. I didn't have allergies. My gut just never came back into full. And mind you, it was not that my gut was always in its full power mode. My gut has been bad since I would say day 5 of my birth. It has been that bad, right? But even that kind of a system could do a turnaround, could find its full potential. Getting it? Because what we are working for over here is really our nervous system's energy, which is held, and it has systemically shut down a lot of systems within us. The other examples of the nervous system shut down. When I work with a few business people, they also come and tell me that, the one thing that they get scared of is sometimes presenting in front of a very big client. But it seems that even before a very big client started happening, one of my clients had this thing that even before a very big client would show up, he would fall sick or he would attract accidents. So it started becoming that whatever happens, he would rather send his business partner, but not go himself. What is the system trying to do? The system is going into a self-sabotage, right? In conventional terms, we think this is self-sabotage. And so we can work on it, we can work with our mind, we can force ourselves into these situations. But with this guy, things never really got to an okay state until we started working, with his nervous system. And we started finding that these fight, flight, and, freeze, or rather withdrawal symptoms, they were all coming from the nervous system. Soon for him, talking, finding the right words, and going to meetings became ordinary stuff. And that is what we really aim for. We don't really aim for recovery of something. We aim that something that felt like a very big challenge for you. We aim that it feels ordinary now. Okay, it's part of life. So I also knew somebody who had a really big problem going to the marketplace. Every time she would go to the market, she would feel distraught. And it turns out, as a child, when she had gone to the market with her mother once, she was groped. She was badly touched by somebody in the market, and she couldn't say anything to her mother about it. Ever since that memory, and she didn't even have this conscious memory, the more we worked with, with her nervous system and with the work that I do, craniosacral work, to allow the nervous system to really calm down, what started happening is suddenly one fine day, she actually not only went to the marketplace, she actually went and ate food there in the marketplace, which is something she said she would never do. She would never think of doing it. But she liked it. She liked some kind of a street food stall. She had it. She came back and it felt like a very ordinary activity. And we were not really aiming for that, but it was one of those things that we found that, oh, it seems that the nervous system has healed. Right? So even with people, there are a lot of case studies where even with people who want to save money, right, who want to see big money, it's very difficult for them to see big money because internally the nervous system is signaling shut down, shut down, shut down, which is why the moment they start to build up and start seeing bigger numbers, the nervous system is going into withdrawal. Right? So these are all signs and classic patterns that this is trauma at work. So you may, do a lot of behavioral work, goal setting work, a lot of stuff, but the goals have to work. Your own system has to allow you to go to those goals, right? So this is one more example. And one last example, which I've also put on the slide, is it's very, very hard for people who have had a history of trauma, and that to a known history of trauma, to stay and be happy. What does that mean? One fine day, I get a call from one of my clients who was my client very, very long time back. And he said that, I asked him, how are you? You always ask that to people, right? How are you? Your married life is treating you good and all of that. And he said, yeah, married life ठीक है, but मेरे को थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम होता है, ये बहुत ही ज्यादा शांति है लाइफ में. So I thought first he's just trying to make a joke. So I said, what happened? मुझे स्ट्रेस लगता है, मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि जैसे मुझे भाग जाना चाहिए घर से, क्योंकि इतनी क्वाइटनेस होती है, पीसफुलनेस भी है, एंड इट वाज काइंड ऑफ हिज सेकंड मैरिज, सो पीसफुलनेस भी है, तो ये मुझे थोड़ा यूज्ड टू नहीं हो पा रहा हूँ मैं, एंड दैट often tells you that there is still stress. That is your nervous system telling you, let's run, something bad is about to happen. But that's a lie. It's a complete lie, So these are examples of how much our nervous system is at work about how we relate to the present moment. All right, so this is just one of the systems. So let me quickly go to the next one, the skeletal system. Our skeletal system is the next system, which is actually another place where we hold a lot of our stress responses. So there is an actual physical there's an actual physical movement that our bones demonstrate. Our bones, you may think they're solid, but they're actually very harmonic in nature. What does that mean? They harmonize to things. So I'm going to play this video to show you a demonstration of just literally when we say Om Mani Padme Hum, the jewel at the heart of the lotus, our brain, where the Sahasrara technically is, or the skull where the Sahasrara is literally like a lotus. The different parts of our skull actually breathe. Every second, every minute, even in this moment, they are breathing right now. And they breathe like a lotus petal. They come apart, they move together. You can observe this very clearly with newborn babies because those movements are very, very obvious. But with adults, these movements cease over time. They become very, very fine. They're not so observable on MRIs and scans. So you can see this breathing movement. So this part and this part actually holds our brain together. This one, I'm going to annotate over here, is a very fascinating structure. This one. It's like a petal. I don't know. It's a 3D image, so it may not feel that obvious, but it's actually like a petal. And this petal is where the master controller hormone of your body sits, and that is your pineal gland. Pineal gland, what does it translate to? Again, in chakra terms, your Ajna chakra. So all your vision and all of that is the health of your pineal gland, and this structure actually moves, opens, gives space and closes up. Opens, gives space and closes up. There's a more zoomed in video at the after this. So our bones actually demonstrate inhalation, exhalation, right? And that also translates to how much we're receiving harmony within us, how much we're experiencing harmony within us. Just a second, trying to navigate to the next one. Yes. So this is the actual pineal gland, the seat of the pineal gland, that is also known as the sphenoid bone. Now, what does this structure, fun trivia, what does this structure visually immediately strike you as? If anyone is into science fiction movies, you will see this resembles like a bird, right? And also like an alien. Do you see the hands of the alien holding the master controller? But this is actually the inhalation, exhalation movement of the very central structure that starts from here and goes all the way in, and it is the center of our cranial space. All right, you don't need to know names, but what's important is this is where your pineal gland sits. This is also the space. If it feels and goes into restriction, a lot of people have migraines. A lot of people get into anxiety, depression, even violent rage sometimes. It's because this structure, this movement, this breathing movement of the structure has been restricted somewhere, somehow. So, a lot of times when we work with clinical case studies, we work with babies who are very colicky, who are constantly crying. There's something in them that is just not at peace. So many times it's because through the process of birth, through the process of coming out of the birth canal, this structure's movements have become compromised, or it's gone a little off kilter a little bit. And that, because of that, the baby is kind of crying out and saying that I want harmony. I actually want harmony inside me. Of course. Sorry, go on. Someone had a question?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'm continuing. The third structure, so first, second, third, fourth. The fourth structure, which is probably the last structure, is the fascia. Now, fascia is a very, very interesting thing. In medical science, the entire medical community, not entire, but the medical community is actually trying to give fascia an organ status. But what is it? It is basically, we've always heard that 70% of our body is fluid, right? It's water. And you also must have read all these, beautiful, or seen these videos of Dr. Masaru Emoto, where he talks about, when he subjects fluids to certain harmony or disharmonious words or music, it shows up in the fluid, right? Now, what is this fluid memory of our body? It's fascia. Fascia looks like a cling film around. Each and every nerve has a kind of a cling film around it. Each and every muscle, each and every fiber of your muscle has a cling film around it. Fascia is that. So it's literally iridescent in the sense that I'm not just saying visually, but okay, if you actually see it fresh, in the sense somebody who is alive, if you were to see fascia, it looks like this. This is not fascia, but this is, guess what? The mother of pearl. Have you heard of mother of pearl? Where the pearl is born, right? That's the mother of pearl. The shell, basically the interior of a shell. Our own internal, the most egoic structure of our body, because this is the place where we hold every single trauma, every single memory. You brushed your elbow against your work desk while going and meeting some colleague. This fascia over here holds that memory. You had an accident or a fracture at the age of 3. This fascia around your bone holds that memory. Every single memory is recorded by fascia. And why? Because the fascia just wants to protect. It really wants to protect you. All right. And this is also your space of empathy. So, if you go into a hospital and you sit and you immediately feel like, oh my God, I'm feeling so drowsy, or, there are all these patients around and you're feeling like I'm exhausted just by looking at them. What in you has registered that? What is your physical structure within you that has registered that? And that's your fascia, right? Not just that, suppose you go and meet a spiritual teacher, you go into a monastery, you go into a temple, you feel beautiful, the surroundings really, the moment you see people and there is that sense of well-being, expansiveness, what in you is responding to it? It's your fascia again, right? So fascia is a very, very fascinating structure. So these are some beautiful images of, not just fascia, but other stuff. So this is, of course, the inside of the shell, but this one is actually the close-up of the wings of a dragonfly. So you can see we are mimicking a lot of things in nature, in our body. So we don't see it, we don't realize it, but we actually are, So going ahead, let's speak on the most important thing now. So finally, why trauma? Why should we work with trauma and what it is? Trauma is not only this coordinated shutdown of all of these systems that we just talked about, but it's very, very important to understand trauma is very biological in nature. It's our animal in us that is gone into a fright response. It's frightened. You can't just get it out by excessively giving it affirmations, doing mental work, or any of that. The other very big, interesting thing, when I learned about this word trauma, I always used to wonder, why is trauma used in hospitals? In hospitals, you have a trauma unit. I realized that because of that, a misconception was created in my head. I used to always think trauma is just this one particular incident, but trauma is not one incident. Trauma can be something as simple, as quiet as your mother leaving the room when you were just a 2-year-old and then coming back 5 minutes later. It's not really a big incident. It's not a big happening. It's not a big situation, but it can get recorded as trauma, right? And the other bit is that as we go ahead, these are some of the symptoms that we actually see about trauma. And there are so many things about trauma that we don't see. We don't even know that this is trauma looking at us in the face. So I'm just going to give you some time to read through this, because this is typically what you see. This is typically what you don't see. And this is really where we come to the part of what are we seeking freedom from? This is the stuff we are seeking freedom from, right? These patterns, because we start going into all of our therapeutic healing work because of any of this. So this is just a very, very small list, but to be honest, trauma can be something even as simple, so-called as simple as somebody not being punctual with their time. That could be trauma. Somebody successively procrastinating, that could be trauma. Somebody not wanting success because it would overwhelm them, that would be trauma. So when I work with craniosacral work, why I chose craniosacral work and why I went into it, this is a very main reason, because I found that it is very tough for somebody who is in trauma to talk about it. So I mean, imagine if I have to make you relive an experience that you don't even remember having. It would take me years and years and years of conventional work to get you to even remember it. But what if you don't need to remember it? Your body does the remembering for you. You know, your body releases it for you. It completely eliminates the need for you to talk and to describe and to go excessively into trauma, probably at the cost of re-traumatizing yourself again. So you don't want to do that, because of which this is how we track things. So a very simple one, right? If, for example, your main caregiver was not around for you, was just not around, I'm not saying she abandoned you, but maybe she was not around so much. Maybe you're somebody who wanted a lot of physical touch as a child, but she just was not into physical touch. But at the same time, it then turned into your own internal attitude. You know what? I only have to take care of myself. I only should be able to do this by myself. I will take care of myself. Then later, the same person gets married, has a very loving husband, but at the same time, she realizes that she is not, she cannot allow her husband to take care of herself. Sorry, I can't hear.
Excuse
Someone
me,
is
ma'am.
interrupting. Yeah.
Ma'am, the things for which you are talking,
Mhm.
most of the things I am suffering from right now, from last 2 years.
Can we talk about that later? Let me just finish the slides and the
Okay,
presentation.
ma'am.
Yeah. So
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. So let's just continue. So, you know, these are some of the patterns you often see. There is, so as I was talking about, you know, one particular case in point, she would not allow her husband to get really intimate with her, in the sense, get close to her, even emotionally close to her. And all of that, you know, when we started working, we often take a whole detailed case study of, you know, what is happening to you, what are you facing at a bodily level, what are these small things you see which annoy you, you know. And all of that, you know, one of these issues that we tracked was tightness in the jaw, you know. And tightness in the jaw and TMJ is this particular joint that you have, and teeth issues, recurring teeth issues, that connects to the fact that the person who was her central caregiver, she was not really there for her the way she wanted that person to be. Right now, similarly, you can track a lot of other things, like this is disruption of digestion that I talked about, a lot of time spent at the hospital, right? There are several such patterns that you will get to see. So I'm going to quickly move through the slide. Can just someone update me on the time? How much time do we have left?
This is 6:10 now, Deepti.
Okay.
Yeah. How much time do you think will take more?
I think about 10-20 minutes should be enough.
And then we should have some time for
Q&A. Yes, yes.
Let's target finishing by 6:30, wrapping up by 6:30.
Done. So yes, this is also like, you know, some of those trauma footprints that I had talked about, you know, are different parts of our skull. Also, the way they move, the way they demonstrate what we call motility is basically just those internal movements that I showed you. This, you know, these skull structures, they tell you a lot of that. The movements tell us a lot about this. Things that your body says, you don't need to say, your body will say it for you. So like, you know, and all disease at the end of it is basically your body trying to say no to something. So Dr. Gabor Mate, this guy, he's put out this wonderful movie about trauma. I'll be sharing it in resources after this session with Ashish, so that he can send it out in mail. But this is a very important fact, that it's very important to understand that your body and your life are not separate from each other. You know, it's basically that your body and your life are very intrinsically connected. And that is why trauma matters a lot. the more you're going to do stillness work, the more you're going to deepen into your meditation practice, your yoga practice, the more these deeper imprints are going to surface. Because you, whether or not you want to process it, your body will always find that outlet that it wants to process it, right? I'm just going to quickly run through these slides, which are basically different types of human trauma and the fact that we need to address it. And as you can see, each of us is touched by at least one of them, you know. I've not even mentioned any birth trauma, but birth trauma also finds a part of medical trauma there. So having difficult birth also can be part of it. And ultimately, these are the three reasons why we must finally heal trauma. We work a lot in non-duality, and you know, our start of spiritual journey in any line of work is sakshi bhav, or witnessing. Now, a lot of times trauma is not, like I said, it's not about the incident. It's what got recorded in your body because there was either a lack of empathy or a lack of witnessing, and sometimes it's a lack of an empathetic witnessing. So that is one of the biggest reasons why your mind will also try to pull you back into those flashbacks. Like someone said that they saw somebody who hurt them, you know, in a meditation earlier. Why did the mind pull that, gravitationally pull you back into that particular memory with that particular face and that particular person? It's because the mind wants you as an empathetic witness, right? Our soul, our growth is in that. The second reason is that trauma disrupts our own rest or relaxation response. I want you to really read this text. I'm going to move this because it's really important that, you know, this really lands on you. It's not that we are anti-peace, but a traumatized system cannot handle peace. So just read that. I'm muting and just having a sip of water till then. All right. So yeah, it doesn't matter even if you've been meditating for years, it can still happen that trauma can catch up. And now you know why, even after years of practice, things, deeper stuff can start coming up. It's not an accident, it is by design, right? And the third part is ultimately it disrupts your ability to be mindful. Mindfulness is so critical, is so critical. I mean, I sometimes work with certain cancer patients, and they have these abilities where they have these you know, things that happen to them where they have overnight forgotten, the brain just forgets registering whether they have taken their medicines or not. It's something very simple, and a lot of their relatives will think that they're deliberately doing it, but the truth is, you know, trauma just disrupts your ability to be connected and to stay and to be with the present moment and with all the inputs of the present moment, right? It simply disrupts mindfulness at its core. And while you would want to, you know, we would automatically, you know, when we see somebody like, hey, you should be more mindful in life, you know, you should then you'll stop forgetting things, start making a list. While we can give them behavioral things, what if they forget to make lists only, right? So yeah, the last part relates to also our ability to just slow down and feel into this moment. So I'm just holding this slide again, where it is more about, this is one of my favorite non-duality teachers, where he also talks about resting attention and relaxing into the present moment, right? And just this deep rest. In fact, Osho had this very famous line. He used to say, total relaxation is the ultimate. But trauma disrupts that. So when you heal your trauma, your ability to receive this moment, your ability to be in this moment just goes up tenfold. Okay, so lastly, just want to cover this, that, yep, this is the main reason why we heal. And the very last Yeah, the very last piece is how do we heal trauma? One is definitely trauma literacy. What you just went through, what you just experienced right now was more about trauma literacy. If we don't know that this is trauma, we are going to beat ourselves up endlessly thinking, you know what, I'm probably lying. I have a lot of ego. A lot of spiritual people think that, right? I have a lot of ego. That's why I don't meditate. That's why I don't face my teacher. No, it's nothing to do probably with your ego in that way. It's probably to do with your system, because we are wired to love peace, to love being at peace, right? The second aspect is seeking softness, safety, just slowing down. And while slowing down may also feel very, very intuitive for a trauma person, they actually can get very hyper, you know. So it's interesting. Another interesting fact, uh, a lot of people in the mental health community are fighting to give certain kinds of trauma a label of mental health. You know, they're trying to sign petitions. But here is where the problem is. A lot of people who are in trauma, they are high achievers in life. They will pile on things. They'll do 20,000 things at the same time. And a lot of them will be good at it, because of which trauma goes undetected. Most people don't even realize that they have trauma. Their ability to just basically, okay, it's fine for me right now to just sit and enjoy a cup of tea and not have a to-do list around it, right? It's very difficult for them to go into that space. So like I said, find those softer things. So one of these, a few of these softer things are, you know, you can read this very beautiful poetry. And that is me with my cat. I have 3 cats. For me, one of the biggest pieces, the biggest shifts has been being around these animals, because especially cats, more than dogs, cats are hardwired to understand trauma. And they will tell you, the way they respond to you tells you immediately what is the state your nervous system is in. So yeah, I'm just going to let you stay with this poetry a little bit before I go to the final bit. The last bit is genuine body-based trauma work, integrating all the psychological aspects. So my program is called Emergence. It's an 8-week program. It's actually where I not just do craniosacral work online. It's a completely online program. I not just do online craniosacral work with people, but it's also through inner child and other non-duality aspects, because like I said, it's stillness which really brings about the deepest healing. So non-duality aspects of really coming into the oneness of who you are, going beyond your trauma identities. That is the work we do. My whole aim to start this program was that for me, it took almost 10 to 15 years of therapeutic work and healing work, and running from this healer to that healer, from this workshop to that workshop, to finally be able to say that, let me just enjoy this cup of tea in this moment, you know. I don't want the same thing happening with with people, you know. It's so important that you realize that there is softness, there's distribution that can happen right here with your system right now. Finally, scholarships. So as part of this community, as part of the offering, I'm offering scholarships for this program based on the fact that, you know, I love working with people of different kind of traumas and different kind of, you know, different levels of trauma that can be addressed by this program. Not everything can, but some of it can. So for those people where I feel like, yes, this can be, you know, this work can be useful for you. Remember, it's not one size fit all. That's also not my approach. And I would say, if you ever approach a trauma counselor, you need to always try it out, see how it resonates with you, how the work lands with you, you know, just so that, you know, you can heal better, heal faster, and really heal. That's more important, right? So I'm offering scholarships also as part of today's community offering for this lovely community. And yeah, this is the final slide. It's from my favorite non-duality teacher whom I follow very intently. I've had the privilege of being in person with him. I've had the privilege of experiencing some amazing states of consciousness while being in my body. So yeah, I leave you with this particular slide. Oh yeah, and thank you very much. I'm just going to move and say just thank you. And these are some of the reference materials. I would really recommend this particular book called The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk. Any person, it doesn't matter how early you are in your spiritual journey, how late you are, please get this book. Have either a copy of this book, or I have a free PDF that I've downloaded from the net. I still do refer to it. I still send it to each of my clients saying, please start this as part of a mandatory education, because I want you to be able to track things that your body does, which has got nothing to do with your mind. It's got nothing to do with your ego, you know. So yeah, and a big thank you to Ashish and this amazing community for letting me talk so much. I hope it was not too technical. It was my first time presenting anything in life, so yeah, I hope it was all right. And these are my contact details.
Thank you so much, Deepti, for an awesome session. And friends, let's show some love to Deepti by
Thank you
clicking
so
on
much.
the heart button emoji. Chanchal, just be patient with us. We'll take your question in some time. But there is while we seeing a lot of hearts there, a lot of love coming in for you, Deepti, for this
Thank you.
awesome session. Friends, we'll also request you to quickly share your feedback with us. It will take you less than 30 seconds to fill out the feedback form. Your feedback is very important to us. And once you have filled out the feedback form, please type FD in the chat box, and then we will open up the session for Q&A. And there is a quick question in the meanwhile that I'll share, Deepti, with you, which has come from Brigadier Vidur.
Yes.
Is trauma the same thing as unconscious mind that Freud speaks about? So just hold on your response to that. Let people fill out the feedback form, and then that's the first question we will take. The link to the feedback form has been shared. Please click on the link, share your feedback, and 30 seconds, takes less than 30 seconds, and type FD so that we can proceed with the session. There are some lovely comments coming in for you, Deepti, there. Friends, please type FD, feedback done, once you have filled out the feedback form. Yeah. So people are filling out the feedback form, Deepti, and maybe we can resume.
Okay.
So question is whether the trauma is the same as unconscious mind talked about by
Yes.
Freud, and then we will take Chanchal's question and then Rajni.
All right. Thank you for navigating these questions. So, all right. So yes, in a way it is, because a lot of the unconscious mind that Freud talked about was beyond even the realm of just visuals. They always had a bodily charge to them, if I can call it that way, you know. And because of that, yes, it is largely the unconscious mind. At that time, of course, trauma literature has become known only very recently, but at that time, probably he may not have completely separated the two out, which is why it's looked at as a part of the mind. But this is actually the part where the mind and the body are kind of one and fused with each other. You know, it's like our animal mind, if you can call it that. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Deepti.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brigadier Vidur. Chanchal, please go on. I think she's not there. Rajni will take question from you and then come back to Chanchal.
Yeah, I mean, I have to thank you. I think you were sent from God for me. I definitely want to remain in touch.
Definitely.
So I'm glad you shared your contact details.
Yes.
I thought the session was absolutely fabulous. The quantity of research behind it was so reassuring, and I had a wonderful session with you.
I'm glad. Thank you so much for receiving it. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajni. Really appreciate your heartfelt feedback. And Chanchal, we will have you next. Try and keep it short so that we can take more questions. You're on mute, Chanchal.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Sorry. Okay, sorry, sir.
No problem. Go on.
Yeah.
No, the actually session is very fantastic and very helpful for me also.
I'm
Because from last 2 years, I'm suffering from the same problem. That's why I just want to talk to you further, and I want
Yes.
contact details of you also.
Definitely. Let's talk one-on-one. Yeah.
चंचल हमने शेयर किया है
Yeah.
नंबर.
Thank you for listening.
शेयर करेंगे तो आप रिकॉर्डिंग देख के उनके कोऑर्डिनेट्स पे ईमेल, फेसबुक या फोन नंबर पे कहीं पे भी कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? Yeah.
Ashish ji,
Yes, Ravi.
I join with the entire participants to convey our gratitudes to Ashish Kumar ji for the excellent presentation of Deepti.
Thank you so much, Ashish ji.
Thank you.
I think this is one among the few other programs which are really delivered with a high standard. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Ravi ji. Please help us spread the word by sharing the recording and about the event today in your network. That will help more and more people.
I want to ask, would you be sharing a recording of this?
Yes, Rashni, we'll be sharing in the group also, and we will be emailing also. Please feel free to share it in your friends, with your friends and family.
Yeah. Second thing I wanted to ask is, can I apply for the scholarship?
Sure. Let's talk about it. Yeah, after the session. Yeah,
wonderful.
So that we connect and we find out more. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you, Rashni.
No, would you be sharing through mindful living actually, or what it is actually?
It will be both, Ravi. It will be shared in the group, and it will also be emailed to you.
Okay, thank you.
Looks like there are no more questions. Deepti, any closing comments from you?
Thank you so much for everybody for staying through this. I know that it was very, very technical. I do go very technical, I know that, but I'm so glad that you could stay on and you could really listen to these things, because you don't know at what point in life who it helps and who you come across who it helps. So I mean, trauma literacy is one of the things that I'm very passionate about, because had someone told me when I was running from one healer to another healer that, hey, it's okay, the problem is not that your ego, it's not your ego, it's really just your system doing this, it would have been such a relief. So I feel that nobody should go through any kind of spiritual stigma, and especially in this beautiful journey where we've taken on the paths of mindfulness, self-awareness. No one should feel that they're deliberately trying to sabotage their own journey. And I really pray for that, for everyone to just expand and come into their own sense of safety, because that will create the world into a safe space, first of all.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Deepti, for those comforting and lovely words. I'm having goosebumps listening to you. Such an awesome session. Thank you for conducting this session. Thank you, everybody, for joining the session. Please spread the word about the session. If you're a part of the Mindful Living community, in the community, or with your friends and family, so that more and more people can learn about trauma, understand trauma, and deal with it. On your way out, it's a weekend, make some noise. Let's hear some noise and, say bye. Have a nice weekend, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Deepti,
Bye.
and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
I'm really
Thank you
serious
so
about
much.
this scholarship.
Bye. Thank you, Kevin. Bye. Enjoy.